My dad told me he wanted grandkids before he went to the grave. Just casually said it. Like it was the reasonable thing to drop in the middle of a conversation on the phone at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday. And I'm sitting there at 35, no kids, not married, still just trying to figure out what the next chapter of my life even looks like. And for a second, it hit different than I expected it to. Not because he was wrong for wanting what he wants, but because I realized I've been measuring my own life against a clock I never actually agreed to. By the end of this, you're going to understand why the clock was never yours to begin with, and what it actually costs to find out too late. Here's the thing about the 25 to 35 window that nobody says honestly. It's the most comparison-heavy stretch of your entire life. Everybody around you is hitting milestones. We're talking houses, marriage, kids, getting a promotion at work. And the problem is social media exists specifically to make sure you see all this at maximum volume. So you start running the numbers on yourself. And those numbers just don't look right. And instead of questioning the formula, most people just conclude that they're failing, that they're behind, that something went wrong somewhere and now they're just trying to play catch up in a race they didn't realize they had already started. But here's what I noticed. The people who hit all those milestones already, we're talking married at 28, house at 30, having kids at 32, a lot of them are getting divorced at 35. They're miserable in their careers, and they can't leave because they have a mortgage. They're stuck in a life that looks right on paper, yet feels wrong every single morning they wake up. The timeline didn't protect them. It just gave them a different set of problems on a more socially acceptable schedule. There was a moment playing Fiddlesticks in this game where something clicked and had nothing to do with the game. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute. The reason you can't shake the feeling isn't weakness. It's more architecture. You were handed a blueprint before you were old enough to question it. School, degree, job, partner, house, kids, all in that order. And for a long time following it felt like progress, even though it didn't feel right. The problem is the blueprint was written for a different economy, a different world. Your parents could buy a house on one income. Stability was accessible if you just followed these steps. The script made sense for the life it was designed for. You're running the same script in a world where inflation is real. Housing almost feels like a luxury, and job security is a myth. Not to mention the goalpost keeps moving every 6 months. And when you can't hit the mark, your brain doesn't blame the outdated script. You just start blaming yourself. So you wake up, go to work, come home, do it again. Same routine, same walls, same daily drive, same car, same scenery. And somewhere in the definition of insanity, you start feeling like time is just sliding past you and there's nothing to show for it. You haven't done anything wrong. But what you've done doesn't match what you were told it should look like by now. And that gap between where you are and where the blueprint said you should be, that's not failure. That's the cost of living in the wrong era with the right instincts. Here's the part that actually got me though. Fiddlesticks is one of those champions that looks wrong on paper. He's incredibly slow, he's immobile when channeling his abilities, and if you get caught before your ult goes off, you're just dead. By Season 16's jungle standards, he shouldn't even work in the current meta. Every metric says pick something else. But the moment you fully commit to him, you learn the angles, trust the setup, and stop trying to compare him to champions he was never supposed to be, he becomes genuinely terrifying. The problem was never Fiddlesticks. The problem was measuring him against a standard built for a different kind of champion. You're doing the same thing to yourself. You end relationships that weren't right even though you were in them for a long time. That may have cost you some time, but ultimately, it was the right call. You haven't bought a house yet, but you also haven't locked yourself into a mortgage you can't breathe inside of. You're still figuring it out, which feels like you're being behind, until you realize that people who figured it out earlier in life are now unfiguring it at 35. The conventional path isn't always safer. It's just more visible. And here's the thing. Stop measuring your build against a meta that wasn't designed for the choices you made. You chose differently. That has a cost. It also has a return that the default path doesn't. You just haven't hit late game yet. 35 isn't running out of time. 35 is still early game, if you just stop playing like you already lost. Don't play like you're in base watching your Nexus explode. So what you're down a few towers and the enemy team has Dragon Soul? The game isn't over, so stop playing like it is. Every game is winnable. You just need to find the right win conditions. Everyone told you what success looks like at 35. But nobody told you what it costs to want something different. And the moment you stop apologizing for the cost is usually when you start building something that's actually yours.
Just a story.